certainly want to thank everybody as members of the Brave Souls Club for coming out on a rainy and a windy New England night to the 2017 NBEDC annual meeting. Unfortunately, tonight we have to start out on a little bit of a somber note. A dear friend and partner that we've been working with tirelessly for the past couple of years passed away today, Paul Bishens. And so I thought if we could simply start, and Ramon, you want to just hold it for 1 second? Just start and just a quick moment of silence, please, in memory of Paul. Thank you. Paul was more than a partner for us on economic development projects. He was a dear friend. We spent a lot of time together, specifically with Ramon. For those of us that knew him and knew him well, and there are many of us in this room that did that, Paul would know that he wouldn't want a somber or a weepy-eyed evening. He would want us to move on and be joyful. So we know that's what Paul would want, and so we are going to do. We're going to do just that. And let me just start by saying that it's been a phenomenal year here for the NBEDC, a year of hard work, a lot of great stuff going on. And we're going to get into all of that, but certainly before we get into all that, I just want to take a moment and thank the folks at the New Bedford Whaling Museum for hosting us this year for this event. We knew that we wanted to be here this year. We knew specifically that we wanted to be in this room this year. The views out to the waterfront are spectacular. They remind us of the central role that our working waterfront plays in defining New Bedford's character. So from our history as the world's premier whaling port, so ably told, not just by the museum, but our partners in the National Park Service, to our current prominence as the nation's #1 fishing port, and certainly our future as a leader in offshore wind, New Bedford has always been, and really always will be, a city that is wholly connected to the sea. Those of us at the EDC share a common desire with Mayor Mitchell and the Harbor Development Commission to see the Port of New Bedford strengthen its position in the Commonwealth as an economic engine unto itself. As such, this past year, we have continued to work as closely as ever with the HDC, the City Planning Office, and dozens of waterfront stakeholders as strategic planning on the waterfront continues. And as that work continues, we dive into the details of how each corner of the waterfront, really every acre, can be put to its maximum use and maximum potential. This effort is expertly led by my dear friend and actual neighbor, Ed Washburn, at the HDC. And this work will provide a roadmap for decades of new growth and expanded diversity on the waterfront, which proudly keeps commercial fishing and maritime industry front and center. Now, this work is going to be wrapping up soon, and when the final public meetings take place over this fall and winter, please stay engaged in that process. If you haven't been engaged in that process, get engaged. Believe me, and Ed can tell you this, and Pat Sullivan and the folks in the planning office can tell you this, that the end product is always so much better when more people are involved. And that work and involvement really goes beyond the waterfront. In this year's annual report, many of you have copies. Please grab one on the way out. We thought that provided us an opportunity, really a perfect opportunity, to highlight something specific, and that's the work of Entrepreneurship for All. At our Quest Center home base, we see firsthand the energy that new entrepreneurs bring to the mix in their enthusiasm and dedication to perfecting that one idea. And that enthusiasm is certainly infectious for us at the Quest Center. While you can read a bit more about E4All in our annual report, you will also see that we count on these types of partnerships really for everything that we do. From the mayor's office and all the department heads that we work with, Jim McKeague and the rest of the team at Mass Development, certainly Dr. Douglas and all of our colleagues at Bristol Community College, There is really no area of our activity that is not driven by our team-based approach. It is this very approach that allows a small, and I think a very talented staff to work on such a varied and complex economic development agenda. This past year, we have started the planning for a new business park with a redesigned public golf course in partnership with Mass Development, with the city, the mayor's office, certainly the city council, on a long-term effort. And I stress long-term effort. We're only at the early stages here. But this is an effort that can yield more than 1,000 jobs and tens of millions of dollars of new investment for New Bedford. We have continued to guide the advancement of more than $50 million in historic mill redevelopment projects with the skilled assistance of Terry Burnett and her colleagues at Whale. And through our lending and assistance programs, we have continued to work with our greatest partners, some of them are here tonight, small business owners, as their hard work in neighborhoods throughout the city continues to make New Bedford a better place for all of us. Now that's a lot of work just right there for a volunteer board and a full-time team of only 5. But if you know these folks and have the opportunity to work with them every day, you understand that's not really that big of a stretch. Mayor Mitchell is always telling me this, and it's true for the EDC board, and our board is always on top of this. We simply must out-hustle everyone else. So our board believes that, and under Tony's tireless leadership, they continue to expertly guide and shape our strategic agenda for sustainable development. And our staff, the people that I spend more time with really than anyone, they're a group of dedicated professionals constantly looking to improve what they do and find ways to do even more. Nancy, Deborah, Angela, and Ramon, all here tonight, they are dear friends. They are more than co-workers for me. They work hard every day. They push me to work even harder. They are smart, they are creative, and they constantly keep me up at night thinking about what's next. Simply put, every one of us in this room, every one of us in the city is lucky to have them at the EDC. Selfishly, I'm lucky that they put up with me every day. I'm wondering if we couldn't just give those folks a round of applause. Certainly buy them a drink when we're done here this afternoon. I also want to take a moment and offer our thanks to all of those entities and organizations that have supported us through grants and corporate sponsorships. All of them are listed in our annual report. Some of them are listed on the board outside. We couldn't do what we do without that support, without those sponsorships, not just in the year that passed, but certainly in the year that's ahead. But a special thank you goes to Bristol County Savings Bank for being our lead sponsor. Specifically, Pat Murray, the president and CEO of Bristol County Savings Bank, and my dear friend Pete Selly, the senior vice president of commercial lending and the longtime chair of the EDC's own lending committee. As a community bank, Bristol County Savings has always placed a premium on supporting and investing in the communities that it serves. They take great pride in working collaboratively with community organizations, schools, and government agencies within the greater New Bedford area to meet the growing needs of the population and, of course, to support the local economy. Now, we all know that the bank has collaborated, of course, with the EDC, the City of New Bedford, the zoo. I see Henry and Marion Wayner here tonight, and, of course, with Wales projects, literally right up the street right now. So we know that the bank feels very strongly about working collaboratively. We know that they understand that that creates the most positive impact for the New Bedford community, and all of us at the NBEDC simply could not agree more. So with that, please join me in welcoming Patrick Murray, President of Bristol County Savings Bank.
Thanks, Derek, for your very generous remarks. And you're going to hear a little bit of a theme tonight. You know, Derek recognized some of the organizations, but he also talked a lot about people. And that's what I'm going to talk a little bit about as well. But I'd like to start by thanking all of the sponsors for this evening's annual meeting. but also to all the organizations that get involved with the NBEDC throughout the year that provide the ongoing support to make our city a good place to live, a great place to work, and a great place to be a corporate citizen. The success of the NBEDC doesn't happen without all of our support. Tonight, Bristol County Savings Bank is proud to be the lead sponsor of tonight's event. But I think one of the things that we're most proud of is the strategic direction and the strategic decision we made several years ago to come to the South Coast and especially to the city of New Bedford. And we want to thank you for welcoming us to your great community. Thank you so, so much. It's all about investment, right? And the EDC does a tremendous job with trying to bring investment into the city. And we're glad that we can help in some small part. Here's just a couple of numbers. So my background is accounting and finance, so I got to throw numbers in it when I get the chance. We've done a nice job down here. We've got 2 offices in the city, and our third will be opening in just hopefully a matter of a couple of months by the end of the year. So far, in the 7 years that we've been here, we've brought into the bank $235 million in deposits. That's a good number. But we don't want to be carpetbaggers, right? We don't want to come in and take the monies out of this community and put it somewhere else. And here's where the plug comes in. So far, we've made $165 million worth of loans to organizations, to companies, and to consumers right here in the city. The good news is, if you do the math, there's another $70 million that we have that we'd love to lend out and invest in New Bedford. So bring those applications in, and so we can help Derek and the mayor and everyone else that is focused on economic development here in the city of New Bedford achieve the goals that you're looking for. I did mention that just in a matter of a month or two, we will be opening our 3rd branch here in the city, right here in the great downtown. We are finally here in the Candleworks building. And it's amazing when you talk about people, when you talk about organizations, everyone that works for Bristol County Savings Bank in the South Coast area wants to work in this office, especially Jack Silva, so he can walk to work. But it will be the first loan production office that we have in New Bedford. The first floor will be a branch. The second floor will be all lending people. So we're really looking forward to getting here and helping the continued investment into the downtown. In addition to that investment, we have also had the opportunity to provide working capital and financial support to many great organizations. Terry Burnett was mentioned. Just here in the downtown, we've helped with several projects, including the Siemens Bethel, the Mariners Home, amongst many others, Terry, that we can continue to go on and on and on. And Terry is actually helping the bank kind of outside the box a little bit so that we can make an equity investment into Terry's organization to help with that as well. We couldn't do any of this without an amazing team, and I am privileged to be the CEO of Bristol County Savings Bank because I work with some great people, including somebody that I'd really like to recognize tonight, and that's Pete Selly. Pete, thank you so much. As you know, Pete was born and raised right here in the city of New Bedford, and he's worked for the bank for many, many years. He's been involved with the EDC for over 20 years, which is hard to believe. Pete is the reason why we're in New Bedford, because he's been after me for how many years, Pete? we got to get there. We got to get there. So he's the guy that you really should be thanking tonight. With that, my last task tonight is to introduce Mayor Jon Mitchell. And John, Derek couldn't say it to you, but he had me on a tight schedule, and we all realize this is an election year, but we're asking you to try to keep only kidding. Although John needs no introduction, I would like to take this opportunity to thank him for all of his support. And at the groundbreaking of our Candleworks office just a couple months ago, John jokingly referred to himself as the nag-in-chief. In working with John over the years and seeing firsthand the team he has assembled and the vision for the city, I can attest that it does take a lot of nagging and a lot of perseverance to achieve results. And John, you've achieved them. You should be you and your team, Derek, and everyone else should be very, very, very proud of what you've accomplished. Mayor Jon Mitchell.
Yeah, I've forgotten all about that comment. It's coming back to me. I'm just I'm grateful my kids aren't here because they would use that on me. So thanks. Thanks for that warm introduction, Pat, and of course for your very prominent corporate leadership in our city. You've really made your mark in a very short period of time, and in ways that you didn't name as well. I mean, running from the work you've done with so many charities in the city and the school system, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's you guys have had a really big impact, and we appreciate your sponsorship of this event tonight. Well, let me just start off with a word of thanks. This has been a really good year in many ways, really in every way that we measure progress in the economic development front. I mean, it's been striking. I do want to sort of offer a couple of words of perspective on that in a moment, but. We're I wasn't about to mix metaphors. We're cooking with gas. I was about to say we're cooking on all cylinders. That would have made a lot of sense to people. See, it is election season, and I am mixing metaphors all over the place. Thank you. My favorite mixed metaphor is, ever see the movie The Naked Gun, and Leslie Nielsen sort of smugly stands back and he goes, "Well, looks like the cows have come home to roost." Anywho, I really want to thank the board. We have we've had a strong and stable board at the EDC for a long time, with the steady hand at the helm of Tony Sapienza. It's been a really good run, and it's been a run that has started from a point that is, wasn't nearly as bright and as optimistic as it is now. Tony and many of the board members have been here well before my time as mayor, and at a point where there was a lot of just sort of basic building blocks that had to be put in place in order for the city and for the region to have an effective economic development arm, and now the fruit of that effort is really starting to pay off. We were fortunate also to have a great staff that has been stable over the years and has continued to work hard under Derek's leadership, and I really appreciate Derek's kind words tonight. I'll just note about Paul Bishens, and his passing was very sad, and someone who was very close to a lot of us, and but I think if Paul were here, he'd say, "Yeah, you guys are on track. Keep doing what you're doing." And it's great to have someone of Derek's ability and intensity and focus on the job, because that's what it takes. We do have to out-hustle everybody, and we can't do that unless we have people who are all about New Bedford, all about solving problems, all about working with people to, and especially businesses, to get to points of mutual interest. So Derek, great job as always. I'm going to refrain from. He hates when I call him the most productive man on the planet, because it sounds like the refrain about Mike Tyson being the baddest man on the planet. But I think I do that every year. Same joke. Same joke every year. Yeah, tough comparison. But I do want to, and again, I do want to thank Tony for his leadership. Tony, what you don't know about Tony, what you probably suspect, is that Tony is somebody I rely on a lot for strategic guidance in the city, and about steps that we have to take, both political as well as economic, in terms of our economic development strategy, and those two are often inseparable. And I have used Tony as as a sounding board for all manner of things. And he'll be the first to tell you that I am indeed the nagging chief. But be that as it may, he is somebody that I've come to rely on greatly, and I really appreciate his friendship as well. So, Tony, thank you very much. So, even though I am in campaign mode, I'll spare you the campaign talking points about the 5,000 jobs that have been created since I got into office, and the number of permits, so forth. But it has been a really good run, and but we're in the work we are in is really all about the long term. City government, including extensions of city government, if you want to characterize the EDC that way, really do work that pays dividends 5 and 10 years out. And the converse is true. The mistakes that are made by city government rear themselves 5, 10, 20, and even later on down the line. And so that's as much as we try to react in the moment and be responsive to business, and in my case, responsive to the residents of our city. When it comes to the strategy of economic development, it's really a long-term play. And we can see both the upside and the downside as we look out the window. We see the upside of encouraging investment in the port, and that's why we've got this freighter, one of the first of the season here. We see the development along the waterfront, places like the Black Whale, and of course the building we're in. Those are all things that, because the city was doing the right things, the possibility of investment followed. But then there's also the downside. We also look out at urban renewal and wonder what would have been had there been a whaling village still left intact there, and so forth. We don't want to dwell on those things, but again, it's really to illustrate the point that our decisions will matter to our kids and grandchildren in ways that we can't fully anticipate. So we do have the right strategy in place. The Regeneration Committee is a big part of what the EDC does, and it's really an extension of the EDC, of the EDC, the Regeneration Committee is. And the strategy that we've employed over the last few years is to leverage our assets, play the best cards in our hand. And I think for a long time the city had lost focus on that, candidly. And what we do really is to think, well, it's remember the saying from Clinton's first campaign, it's the economy stupid. Well, for us, it's the port stupid, right? That's why New Bedford exists. That's why Greater New Bedford exists. That's why this whole region of the state exists. And so, and it will continue to thrive in the years ahead. You have to make the very most of that. You have to make the very most of this, right? The cultural assets in the city. And you can't take your eye off of that ball or that one, as well as others. But if we continue to do that, we will see growth around these things. This is where capital lies in the city, around the cultural assets, around the port. And so that has been our focus and will continue to be our focus. One of the things that I will say that this is a time in which there's the old saying that you should be fixing your roof while the sun is still shining, and there's a lot to be said for that. And another way to put it is that we have to think again. Just because we're doing very well now doesn't mean that we have to really think hard and be disciplined about the fact, the reality that the national business cycle will turn, the recovery will end at some point, and that will have implications for us. And so what we're trying to do is to see steady, sustainable growth across business cycles, so that we can that we're in a really good, better place for the next business cycle. Historically, New Bedford's been, as so many of us have experienced over the years, one of these places that emerges from recessions late and is one of the first to enter the next one. We don't want to be doing that. We don't want to be bobbing with the ocean. So one of the things that I would just impress upon this group, and so many of you have heard it, and I think we have to drink this Kool-Aid, if you will. We have to all see ourselves as city builders. We have to see ourselves as paying it forward to folks in our enlightened self-interest, right? And as we look at our bottom lines in sometimes very literal ways, but our bottom lines for our organizations, for our businesses, for our institutions, are really about how we can sustain ourselves over a very long period of time. I often like to use the example of the work that was done at the YMCA right across the street in the early 70s, when in the midst of urban renewal and in the midst of demolition all over the place, folks stepped up, and in the business leadership of the community, many of whom have since passed, and just about all of them have since passed, and some of the businesses no longer exist, they all stepped up and said, you know, we need to commit ourselves to the urban core here. We need to commit ourselves to an institution that will continue to give back to the community over the long haul, even though it is a stretch to do this, and it could easily be done in a suburban strip mall somewhere. We have to sort of take that inspiration in many ways, and not just in giving to charity and doing good works, but also in the way we conduct our business. There is a double or a triple bottom line. There are times when you know, there are easy trade-offs. We could go to a place that has a lower tax rate, and I am working on that. Trust me. But there are times when we have to say, you know what, we're going to do this we're going to do this for the city, for the sake of the community, not just because it's a good thing to do in a moral sense, but because I know that my business depends on a thriving community, and if I'm giving back a little bit to the community by taking a chance and investing here and stretching a little bit, then good things will happen to my institution in the long run. There are plenty of examples in the room. I mean, I look at Henry Weiner. I mean, Henry Weiner could have been off, and he built that huge warehouse a couple of years last year. He could have done it off of some highway ramp in some suburban community easily, but he committed himself to Bedford. Dave Slutz, you know, and all of his partners, Bob Unger, everybody who invested in Moby Dick, took a chance. It's working. It will work. There are plenty of examples here. What I'm suggesting to all of you is that let's make it contagious. We have to see ourselves as building this, as real builders of a community, of a city. That's our business. And that's something that transcends mayoral administrations. Although I don't like to say this around election season, mayors come and go, it is true. But ultimately, the health of the community is dependent in large part on the kind of sustained leadership that we have of people who had never set foot in an elected office. That's the way I see it. That's what makes a city great over time, and that's the business we are in. So we look forward to the work ahead because there is a lot of work, but it's exciting because what we're doing is really working, and I can't wait to get down to the rest of it with you because it's gonna get even better. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Mayor, for being here this evening and for your remarks. We do rely on our partnerships with many agencies and organizations for all that we do. It is our relationship with Mayor Mitchell and everyone at City Hall that is most critical in our efforts to drive progressive policy, attract new investment, and support private sector job creation. On behalf of the entire board, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the elected officials who have joined us and their continued support of the EDC. Councilor Hugh Dunn is here. Thank you, Hugh. Councilor Joe Lopes is here. And of course, Mayor Mitchell is here. Thank you all for attending today. I also want to thank Pat Murray, the president of Bristol County Savings Bank, for his remarks. Pat is a thoughtful community leader, and he plays an active role in our Regeneration Committee. We thank him and the bank for their continued support of the EDC mission and look forward to joining them at the ribbon cutting for their new branch at the Candleworks building right around the corner from us. You'll now be able to get your banking done and have an amazing dinner all in the same historic building. I will now call officially the 2017 annual meeting of the New Bedford Economic Development Council to order. As you all know, there are these legal requirements that we need to meet in our annual meeting, and at this point, I would like to ask Carol Pimentel, the Director of Internal Audit and Administrative Services for UMass Dartmouth Retired, our clerk, to deliver her report. And I will ask Carol to come right up, and you're right up here. There you go. I got the pages turned.
Thank you, Tony. Clerk's report. Approval of the minutes of the last annual meeting, October 25th, 2016. The minutes of the 2016 annual meeting have been distributed to the members. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the previous annual meeting held October 25th, 2016.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The minutes of the October 25th, 2016 annual meeting has been approved. I will now call on David Schlitz, the Managing Director of Potentia Business Solutions and our Treasurer, to deliver his report.
Thanks, Carol. You're welcome, David. I was told to stay on script, which is not easy for me, so I'll do my best. But I would like to mention on page 2 of our handout, there's a bunch of new members. So if there's any new members here, you want to raise your hand so we can recognize the new folks? Welcome. That was my marketing portion of the show. And I'd also like to recognize I have the easiest job at the EDC. You know why? Because Deb Trombley is our controller, CFO. She makes everybody look good, including me. Even Phil. Phil, nice socks, by the way. Okay, on to the report. Sorry. Fiscal year 2017 was another solid financial year for the NBEDC with a net income of over, income over $1 million. Financial accomplishments for the year. Securing over $100,000 in grants to support the Technical Assistance Program. Our partners, including the SBA and SCORE, have worked with us to develop a series of workshops at the Quest Center offering at no cost to Bedford businesses or those hoping to start a business. And that technical assistance thing is a big deal. I know Mass Growth Capital also sponsors. I'm on the board of Mass Growth Capital. And for those small companies that need some help, this is a wonderful, wonderful program. 2017 also, our lending program awarded 18 new Bedford business loans totaling $997,000, almost $1 million there. Combined, these loans were responsible for the creation of 36 new jobs and leveraged more than $1.3 million in private investment. The total loan portfolio today ended as the fiscal year ending was $3.8 million. Not bad for 5 people. They do hustle, they do work hard. We continue our efforts to solidify a more solid and stable lending position. And this is where Deb comes in, especially. Focused on holding the line on bad debt and cash loan reserves result in a total year-end loan allowance of $471,000, $271,000 in cash and a loan loss reserve alone. So we're lending money. Some may consider these are riskier loans, and we're still secure financially on top of that because of the hard work of the 5 folks, as well as Pete Sully and the lending team. Balance sheet, $4.6 million in assets, supporting $1.1 million liabilities. Who wouldn't like that balance sheet? I know wish I had a Moby Dick right now. We don't have that, so. But we will. Our audited financial statements are available here. You may see them, Deborah or myself, if you want a copy. Hopefully you won't, because I don't have a copy on me. Do I hear a motion to approve the Treasury report? You got to make this funny. Second? Any discussion? Excellent. No. Here, no discussion. I will call the question. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Phil, say nothing. Thank you. The Treasury report has been approved. Thank you very much. In closing, we'd like to thank the many partners who share our commitment to assisting the development of business in New Bedford. There's a long list to support us both financially and strategically. This list is long. Again, thank you all on behalf of the NBEDC. And now, Joe's not in China this year. I get to call on Joseph Nauman, EVP of Corporate and Legal at Cushing & Company, our Vice President, to complete the business portion of our meeting. Joseph?
Thank you, David. As he said, I get to close the business portion of the meeting with the elections that we have to take every year. First of all, the election of the new members. And David was kind enough to point out where you can find that list in the program and to have them raise their hands so that you all know who you're voting for. There are 14 new members that are joining the council this year. So do I have a motion to approve election of the new council membership? A second? Second. Are there any nominations from the floor? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of electing the new members to the Economic Development Council? Aye. Any opposed? The 14 new members are hereby elected. Thank you. Now we'll continue with election of the directors. There are 2 director slots that are open and to be filled at this meeting. The first is John Vasconcellos, the president of the Community Foundation, Southeastern Massachusetts, and it would be electing John to a 3-year term expiring in 2020. Do I hear a motion to elect John Vasconcellos? A second. Any discussion? Could I take a vote to elect John Vasconcellos? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Congratulations, John. The second nominee is Joseph Nauman. I kind of figured that was coming. Executive Vice President, actually not corporate and legal, but Chief Legal Officer of the Acushnet Company, and again, a 3-year term to expire in 2020. Could I please have a motion? And a second? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Now I'll continue with the election of officers. According to the bylaws, the officers are to be elected at each annual meeting, and the nominating committee proposes the following slate of officers. President, Anthony Sapienza, the president of JA Apparel. Vice President, Joseph Nauman, the aforesaid Executive Vice President of the Acushnet Company. Treasurer, David Slutz, Managing Director, Potentia Business Solutions. And Clerk, Carol Pimentel, retired Director of Internal Audit at UMass Dartmouth. Do I hear a motion to elect that slate?
So moved. Second.
A second, please.
Second.
Are there any additional nominations from the floor? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. And that concludes the business portion. I'd like to have Tony Sapienza come back up for the President's report.
Thank you, Joe. On behalf of the Board of Directors and staff, it gives me great pleasure to report that we did close this past fiscal year with an extraordinary record of positive impact in economic growth in New Bedford. I would like to call out the other members. You've met 3 other members of the board, but the other member, or actually 4. You've met Carol, Dave, and Joe, but I'd also like to call out Liz Isherwood, who is here this evening, Helena Da Silva Hughes, who's here this evening, John Vasconcellos, and Steve Kenyon from Bristol Community College, who are our other directors of the Economic Development Council. And I want to thank them for their support over the year. They've done a great job of bringing a broad range of opinion, diversity, and sometimes humor, in the case of Mr. Slutz, to our board meetings. At this point, it cannot be stressed enough that this work is only possible because of our partners and the council members here today. Each of you, as members of the EDC, continue to play a leadership role in our efforts, and I want to thank you for your service, continued commitment, and strong support. I also want to, as a board, applaud the effort and dedication of our staff, so ably led by Derek. The entire team works countless hours and do a tremendous job, and we are totally beholden to the kind of work that Derek, Angela, Nancy, Ramon, and Deborah do for us to make the board look good, but also to make the city look good. A quick glance at this year's report demonstrates the remarkable amount of activity and progress across the city. Construction activity can be found from the business park throughout the center of the city and to the UMass Dartmouth SMass campus in the South End. New projects and startup businesses are coming off the drawing boards and make their way towards groundbreakings, while the offshore wind industry continues to make those tangible steps forward that will make us a national leader in this new American industry. The overall positive trends in new investment and job creation that we have witnessed over the previous years has continued, and we will once again commit ourselves to do all we can to ensure the City of New Bedford is in a strong position to take maximum advantage of a strengthening statewide and national economy. The best way to ensure that New Bedford is in the best position possible to maximize its economic potential is through the continuing strengthening of its public education system. This year, our Regeneration Committee spent a great deal of time and energy focusing on how educational attainment level of the community directly relates to workforce readiness of our citizens and to economic development. While other issues such as public safety, transparent and efficient government, and well-managed infrastructure systems are of vital importance, the true cornerstone to building a strong and resilient economy is the education and skill level of New Bedford families. For a long while, traditional blue-collar cities such as New Bedford have been able to get by with a strong work ethic and a strong back, attributes of great value since the days of whaling and bustling textile mills. But these virtues alone are no longer enough in the 21st century economy. The work of the Regeneration Committee has been given some special attention in this year's report, but it simply is another example of our continued desire to work in partnership across public and private sectors to drive a robust economic development agenda for the entire city. One of our strongest partnerships is with Bristol Community College. Now under the leadership of Dr. Laura Douglas, BCC continues to be at our side from workforce, education and training, to exploring new opportunities in life sciences, to our joint efforts in shaping the future of the New Bedford Wind Energy Center, and much more. Dr. Douglas took the helm as the college's 4th president on July 1st, 2017, having served from 2005 to 2017 as the provost of the Des Moines area Community College's urban campus. She has a remarkable record of accomplishment working with underrepresented populations to enroll them in college and ensure that they graduate. Certainly a need that we have here in New Bedford. During her career, she has served at community colleges in Japan, Michigan, North Carolina, and Iowa. Born and raised in Massachusetts and Connecticut, President Douglas's family has ties to Fall River going back generations. Her great-grandparents immigrated to Fall River from Ireland, and her grandfather was born and raised in our sister city, Fall River. She currently resides in Somerset with her husband, Greg Johnson. She believes in putting community in community college. She is passionate about student success, economic development, and workforce preparedness, and alleviating poverty. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Douglas, the president of Bristol Community College.
I get to put the microphone up here a little bit. So, good evening. What a fun group. My gosh, I'm liking you already. So thank you so much for making me a member today. I'm really thrilled and honored to address the New Bedford Economic Development Council annual meeting. I first want to congratulate you, though, on your outstanding work over the past year. I have heard about it, John. Some of your notable accomplishments include revitalizing the downtown, including the new boutique hotel, bringing new businesses to New Bedford, converting the golf course into a campus-style business park, and your collaboration with BCC, the Harbor Development Commission, and the New Bedford Wind Energy Center to position New Bedford as the premier port for offshore wind development. Each of these accomplishments stand alone on their own merit, but together they say a lot about your vision, your dedication, and your focus on positive change. I want you to know that throughout my childhood, my family and I, in our Ford station wagon, each summer would pass through New Bedford, right on that highway, right there. And it was, we were going off for our annual Cape Cod vacation, and we knew that New Bedford was the home of the Whaling Museum. And looking from the highway onto the harbor, it was always a welcome sight for us to see the port because we knew we were that much closer to our vacation on Cape Cod. Today, New Bedford is not a pass-through. It is a destination for so many things. And I get it. It has a great feel. I like its culture, shopping, craft beers, seafood, and my personal favorite, the BCC burger at Mary's Steamed Burgers. If you have not had it, I challenge you, but if you are on cholesterol medication, you might want to check your dose on that day. It is a delicious burger. But I am very proud to live in the South Coast, and I'm proud that BCC is part of the New Bedford landscape. Bristol Community College started as a single campus in Fall River in 1965. Today, we're the largest undergraduate institution in Bristol County with 5 locations: Fall River, Attleboro, New Bedford, Taunton, and Duval Street, plus e-learning, which is our distance education program that enables students to take classes 24/7. We offer over 150 career and transfer programs, and this year we're serving 7,600 degree-seeking students and 3,900 non-credit students, which includes workforce training, adult basic education, English as a second language, and high school equivalency. We have more than 40,000 alumni and a very active alumni association. We give out close to $250,000 in scholarships and aid every year to our students. In 2001, we opened our downtown New Bedford location in the Star Store. Today we have 1,500 students at that New Bedford campus, and that campus has such a cool, hip vibe that is very much in concert with this city of New Bedford. The student body is diverse in every sense, and they have an awful lot of pride in their community. The campus offers many academic programs and plays an especially important role in health sciences. We have our nursing program there, our only site for occupational therapy. We do coding and reimbursement. Our pharmacy technician program is there, as well as phlebotomy. And in 2 years, we will begin our physical therapy assistant program right here in New Bedford as well. But in the years to come, I see a number of enhancements to BCC's New Bedford's role, and I'm challenging my team to think really big. I want BCC to play a greater role in increasing educational attainment in the area. We have a tremendous opportunity to change the game in decreasing poverty and helping families to become economically self-sufficient. And we can do this by training for what we call mid-skilled jobs. Too many of these jobs go unfilled here in New Bedford and in the South Coast region. Mid-skills jobs, if you haven't heard of them, are those jobs that require more than a high school diploma, but less than a 4-year degree. And right now, 44% of all jobs in Massachusetts require that same skill set as mid-level, more than high school, less than a 4-year degree. But by 2020, 72% of all Massachusetts jobs will require some college. That's a huge jump from 44% to 72%, and 2020 is right around the corner. Median salaries in Massachusetts for those with an associate degree is $66,460. And we know that 85 to 89% of the students who are college educated in this area stay in this area. So it's a great investment for us. As our economy changes, BCC has a great opportunity in training and retraining. Both our degree programs and our workforce training programs are a key part of change. And some of the hottest areas include hospitality, healthcare, engineering, IT, bioscience or biotechnology, wind energy, green jobs, public safety, and paralegal. We have programs right now that train in all of these areas, and we can develop new programs and new training whenever needs arise. We're planning to grow our life sciences program, and operation, as well as advanced manufacturing right here in New Bedford. This expansion will allow us to assist local manufacturers and entice new manufacturers who will assist in the development of offshore wind energy. As you know, BCC has played a very active role in leadership role in wind energy development, and we've supported several offshore wind research projects and developed an offshore wind power technician certificate, as well as a degree program in mechanical technology with wind power. In the years to come, you will see BCC continue as a leader and convener for offshore wind development and education and training. And our goal is to create the National Offshore Wind Institute right here in New Bedford, where BCC will host classrooms for classroom-based instruction, specialized on-site training, and also simulations. Those are the ingredients that our major turbine manufacturers and maritime companies are looking for. We're currently collaborating with several state, federal, and private sector organizations to secure the capital resources necessary to make that a reality. And this is probably going to be one of the most exciting projects for Bristol Community College in the years that come. And I'm learning a lot about wind technology, and I come from Iowa, which is also big wind, but I'm learning about offshore, which is even more exciting. And so as offshore wind business develops, I envision the college playing a strong workforce development role, supporting specialized manufacturing to all of the businesses that will emerge to support offshore wind. The wind industry will also tap into our project management graduates who oversee projects from the planning stage to implementation and through testing and reporting. We're considering new programs like global logistics and supply chain management. Managers will certainly become a necessity here in this area as part of our strategic management skill set for offshore wind. And BCC will play an important role in responding to the education needs of this community, and we're open to developing new certificates and degrees to meet the changing demands. We are a college that can turn on a dime, and we are ready to meet the workforce and training needs in this region. One of the things that you can count on is that BCC will be ramping up its outreach to community groups that are underrepresented in higher education and workforce training, just like Tony talked about earlier. As an example, BCC will host its first Latino family night tomorrow evening at our New Bedford campus. We've got a full house of RSVPs, and it's a new step in helping our Latino families understand why higher education is important to family success and sustainability. So if you have any free time and you're down in the city tomorrow at 6 o'clock, the music, the food, and the programming will be there, and we invite you to drop by to see what we're trying to do to spark interest in higher education amongst our Latino community members. Another thing that you can count on from us is growing and strengthening our partnerships. I see great possibilities for BCC and UMass Dartmouth to connect in new ways to serve this region. And Chancellor Johnson and I have been in numerous conversations about how we can really show this community how well we're going to be working together. But whether it's ways for students to seamlessly transfer, earn express degrees, or partner to better support the offshore wind industry, you will see things happen. We are also working with New Bedford Public Schools to find new ways to help students complete high school and acquire community college opportunities while they are still in high school. These partners are and will be vital in getting to our young people and getting them in productive roles that match our workforce needs. Moving forward, BCC will need your support and advocacy. Nationally, Massachusetts public higher education ranks 48th or 47th in the nation when it comes to funding. Community colleges in the Commonwealth receive some of the lowest higher education funding, despite the fact that every dollar invested has a $7 rate of return. I like to tell people that I wish my stock portfolio could do so well. And I think the Commonwealth can do better. The New Bedford community will also need your encouragement and support. And I urge you to continue to be the voice that encourages someone to go to college. If you don't already, I urge you to consider providing tuition support at your business, or maybe giving the child of one of your employees a scholarship to go to college. Please support education in any way that you can, because our New Bedford economy depends on it. Bristol Community College is a wonderful symbol of democracy here in the South Coast, and I believe that there is no better way to build wealth and prosper than by tapping into education. I know you like to say that New Bedford is open for business. I want you to know that Bristol Community College is open for education and training in New Bedford. Together, we can do great things. So once again, I want to congratulate you on all of your very important work. It's been my pleasure to be here with you this evening, and I welcome any questions that you might have for me, and I'll be sure to stick around after the meeting so I can get to know you and hear more about what you think Bristol Community College can do to serve your needs and make New Bedford stronger. So thank you very much.
Well, we're only 30 seconds away from the bar and some further hors d'oeuvres, but I do want to thank Dr. Douglas, Pat Murray, and the mayor for being here this evening, and particularly want to thank the Whaling Museum for first building this beautiful room and in fact then making it a community center for so many different organizations like ours to be able to showcase our city. We are optimistic that we can continue to accelerate our agenda and bring new investment to New Bedford, resulting in new jobs, more jobs for New Bedford families. I want to remind all of our council members that in the next few weeks, staff will be reaching out to you again this year to help set the stage for our continued work in 2018. Your input, guidance, experience, and commitment to this city are what we need as we plan for the year ahead. Thank you, everyone, for staying and participating. Is there any old business on the floor? There being none, is there any new business on the floor? There's also none, in which case I hereby declare the 2017 annual meeting of the New Bedford Economic Development Council adjourned. Thank you all.